Welcome to Megapath Presents. I'm Ronnie Hayes, and this is the ultimate trailer breakdown video for The Walking Dead Season 8. Now, I don't know how long this is going to be, and I don't want it to be a huge video, so let's dive straight into this. I was going to put this video up yesterday, but I wanted to let my brain process what I was seeing, so that way I can give you guys something with some substance in it instead of just shitting out a prediction. But I think I got some substance here, so bear with me. Smash that like button. That's the new retarded thing now to say before you start a video. But let's dive right in with Father Gabriel trapped inside the sanctuary, that is, with Negan. Now, I'm not gonna bring up the comic, or at least I'm gonna try not to, especially spoiler stuff for those who are not interested. However, this is something, and this is not a spoiler, but it ties into Sasha's death from last season. In the comic book, it was actually Holly who broke into the sanctuary with the truck, letting walkers surround the building. She was captured by Negan, very similar to what we see here. Instead, in the comic, it was Negan talking to Dwight, asking if you have your shitting pants on, but in here it's Gabriel. And then in the comic, it was Holly who was captured and used as a distraction because she was dead, just like Sasha. So this is not going to happen to Gabriel because we already got the Holly death on the show with Sasha. So I think this is essentially Gabriel being trapped after they attacked the sanctuary. Somehow he got separated and trapped inside. Maybe he sacrificed himself to get the job done, similar to Holly. But I think Dwight might end up helping him escape, or helping him to not get hurt or killed, and maybe even bring him back to the good guys, showing them more that Dwight is definitely on their side and not on Negan's side. Here's an image of Rick. We're going to discuss this later on, but I think this just goes with him and Maggie kind of introducing the communities to each other and hyping up going into battle. Now here's Carol and Tara. We see Carol, a lot of fans are going wild with her looking at the flower. Now this flower drawing is kind of bringing up the emotions of Sophia and Lizzie and Mika and everything that's been going on with her in this story, because there's the Cherokee rose between her and Daryl, which he found when he was looking for Sophia. There's that connection. And then there's also the look at the flowers. How can you forget that? So she's still going through stuff, and I love that they haven't abandoned that. Now we got this image of Carl. At first I didn't think this had anything to do or any level of importance whatsoever. He's out looking for supplies. Maybe he's helping to set the traps in the road or the bombs. We'll discuss that later on because I don't think it's really traps. But anyway, and here's the thing. I don't cover set photos or leaks. However, it was hard to avoid everyone passing out a Season 8 image of Carl, and this isn't a spoiler, but he was walking down the road with a gas can, and it was the same image almost as Rick from Season 1. And then they announced on the production that they were going to do some stuff to pay homage from Episode 1 or Season 1, because this is the 100th episode, the premiere. So I'm assuming this is the premiere, and I'm assuming they're going to pay homage to it, because if you look here, this is an image from Season 1 of Rick, and it looks identical. So this is obviously going to go along with something they got cooked up where, you know, Carl has Rick's hat on. They're going to do some kind of paying homage where he's walking down the street with the gas can like Rick. Maybe they're going to open it up like this, similar to when they opened season. Yeah, because that was how they opened Season 1, Episode 1, right? It didn't start with Rick as a cop, like him and Shane in the car. It actually started with Rick driving down. That's the very first shot of the Walking Dead series. And then he gets out of the car and he starts walking looking for gas, right? And this is from that scene. So maybe they're going to start the premiere with Carl coming down, driving or walking. He gets out and he's looking for gas. He's gathering gas for the bombs they're going to set up. All right, we'll touch back on that later. Now, I want to cover everything. This is just an image of Morgan, and I think this is when he's fighting Jesus. We'll come back to this. I'm going to stop saying next up, so just so you know, we're going to dive into every image. Rick and Maggie here are waiting possibly outside the sanctuary or outside an outpost they're about to hit. Ezekiel here, I think this is possibly Ezekiel actually coming back from helping out Alexandria. Maybe he already told his people that would probably be better for the script. And this is him and his gang returning after helping Alexandria, and his people are like clearing the way for him and his soldiers. Now here's Daryl, and this might connect to another image with the bombs that are set up. So we're going to have to come back here, but if you notice, you have the cars and the bikes on fire. That's very important. And then you got the the zombies. Next up, we see him drinking, but keep in mind, he has that white band. We're going to talk about the importance of the bands in a second, and he's kind of looking at the zombies. Apparently, everyone who was caught in that trap is dead now. Now, here's Michonne, and it looks like she still has some bruising around that eye, but we all know that The Walking Dead is notorious for inconsistencies when it comes to the injuries. I would expect to see her more injured because I don't think they waited a long time before they went to war. That just doesn't make much sense. Negan would have struck back, sooner than that if they would have waited, or maybe they need to make ammunition and gather supplies and set traps, so maybe that's taken a few weeks or something, but I don't know if I buy that. So Michonne and Rosita are going off on some kind of mission together. Maybe she stayed back to heal and everyone's out fighting and doing stuff and they decided they can't wait around anymore. Now we got Enid. She's on lookout, and guess what? No one is there. Eduardo is not there. Peter Zimmerman. We'll talk about him in a minute. Eduardo is not there. Cal is not there. And Maggie is not there. It's Enid, which leads me to believe she's keeping guard while they are all out at war. We have Aaron here who looks pretty sad, and this might be where Eric dies, unfortunately. You got blood on his hands, which would mean, well, he could be fighting a walker, he could be fighting a person to get blood on his hands, but I'm assuming that Eric gets shot and killed or stabbed and killed, and he was holding him, hence the blood on his hands. Now, Tara here seems to be on the back of some kind of truck, and they're driving along, and they're kind of luring the walkers along, and I know this is a reach, but she's aiming at them, and she's aiming at something, and she's pretending to shoot. Now, they either captured prisoners, and she's aiming at them to kind of torment them, or they are actually driving, leading walkers towards the sanctuary, and she's just kind of aiming at them, bored as they go along, and she's just fake shooting them. Here's Dwight and Daryl most likely passing love letters. It looks like the spoke of a bicycle, so it says tomorrow, and I think that's a note telling Dwight, set something up because we're going to attack the sanctuary tomorrow. This here shows that there's lights on in this facility. I couldn't really place it. I couldn't tell if this was the area that Eugene found where they're going to make bullets. Maybe it's an outpost because we saw outposts have electricity, and then maybe this is the Savior compound. They could have attacked the compound and entered. It doesn't look like the compound, and it looks like Carol actually made entrance into this facility, so I'm guessing at this point in time it's an outpost. This gun is very interesting. At first sight, I thought, okay, this is Carol's gun. Daryl finds it. He sees that she's marking tallies of how many people she killed, and he puts his finger on it, so it's not really like this is his tally, or maybe he's contemplating his tally. I don't know. That could be it. But I was thinking it'd be so nice if he's looking at this, and he took Carol's gun or used it for some reason, and he's looking at the notches, and he confronts her later, and she breaks down, and this kind of aids to her story about what she's been going through. Or it could be Daryl's gun, and he's keeping a tally, and he might be running his fingers along it thinking, is this going too far? Am I just let my rage kill random people who are just fighting because Negan makes them? Like, what is going on with me? Or it could be a gun he took off of a Savior, and the Savior made tallies, and Daryl's thinking, look at these 6 sons of bitches. This is more evidence that we need to shut them down. Now we have Rick walking along here, and I'm assuming this is another Savior outpost. It could be the same exact one that Carol's at. Here's a walker stuck in what I think is a Morgan spike trap. We've seen him set up these kind of traps, so I don't think that is a stretch. He has the bag there. That most likely is on purpose to lure some walkers in. Not really sure what he's going to do with that walker, but I think we see that walker later on, so keep an eye on that. Next up, we see this image of somebody walking through. I can't really place if it's Rosita or somebody else, but it looks like someone's peeking in, and I think this might be a prisoner at the hilltop. So hold on, we're going to come back to that. Now Aaron is driving this car with the shield into place. They might be getting to somewhere where they're going to have battle with an outpost or the sanctuary even. Now here is the prisoner. He's cutting the rope with this rock, and I think this is a piece of shit Savior, and I got the image in a second, so keep this in mind. We'll return to this. So then we got Rick. I did a whole video on this. This is Rick 100% captured. We found the evidence in the video, so check that out. And he's being held at the trash people lair. Now, this is an image of the hilltop, and they don't look too happy. Gregory looks really disappointed or dissatisfied. Maggie looks like she's disgusted. Some of the other people look like, see the girl holding her daughter? They look uncomfortable, but they're not scared. They still have guns. So all this together leads me to believe they are bringing prisoners in. And the key signs, you have Gregory, who did not want this war, and he knows this is bad. Look at his face. He knows Negan is going to come after them for this, and he is not happy. Look at Maggie. She's not afraid. She has her gun, but she's disgusted. She's pissed. She's looking at a prisoner, I think, or a savior. And then look at Eduardo in the back. He's looking at Maggie's ass. And then we have, it's important, right behind Gregory, right behind Cal, you have that mother kind of with her hands on her daughter. And I think that's a protective thing because they are bringing prisoners into their home. Either prisoners or one prisoner. And I think we have proof of that in a moment. Now, these are all the trucks with the shields. And I love this idea, but they're pulling up to the hilltop. And I think this is where they're going to have their big meeting. All the communities meet at the hilltop and they have their big meeting about fighting. This is them, the kingdom people, Jerry here, and then Father Gabriel, who's in the same coat and his same outfit when he gets caught. So I think this is happening right before they attack the sanctuary. Here's Jesus as well, and then we can see Enid, and everyone's involved and listening to Rick and Maggie talk about what they're going to do. Now, I thought this took place near the hilltop, by the hilltop, but I'll be honest, I'm failing to place this, and I'm thinking it has to do with either the sanctuary or the outpost hit. But the most important thing I want to highlight, everyone has bands on, but there's 3 different colors. There's white, there's red, and there's green. And a lot of people keep asking me, Ronnie, what's up with the bands? So I thought about it a little bit, and I'm thinking, and it's more than just the colors. So hold on, Alexandria white, you got the kingdom red, and the hilltop green. We are going to war. These people are going to war with saviors, and the communities are just meeting each other. The hilltop, the kingdom, Alexandria. Everybody doesn't know everybody. I think the bands are twofold. I think it says, I am on your team, don't kill me, when they're in battle. Because think about that. You don't know everyone in the other community. You just met them. So when it's all chaotic, if you see that there's a band on their arm, you know they're a good guy. Which gets a little flustered, and I get a little annoyed and nitpicky because it's hard to see a lot of their bands. And then if you see in different images, their bands are down by their forearms, it's covered in their wrist, or their elbow rather, and it's very difficult to see, and I'm thinking, like, if you want it easy to see, make it easy to see. But anyway, I also think the other reason for the bands is to place who does what. I do think they're going to have the green team, the red team, and the white team going in different directions and flanking the sanctuary or the outpost, and maybe even doing different things along the way. Here is one of those things. This is a gas can with something taped to it. I'll be honest, I can't really place that, but it looks like some type of detonator because you have the wires going to the gas can. This one looks like a bomb because there's 2 different traps, and I don't think people are picking up on it. You have the bomb right here that's being set, and we see Jesus is helping to set the bomb. This seems like it's in a different location than we see later on, but we'll come back to that idea. I do believe this is a glorious image, and it's sneaky too, because at first I thought this was them luring a herd of walkers, but if you pay close attention and look at their hands, everyone in the groups in the back there, they have their hands in front of them as if their hands are tied up. I believe these are prisoners taken from the sanctuary, or better yet, one of the outposts. I think they hit one of the smaller outposts and they took some prisoners. You have the people in the truck. As a matter of fact, is that Tara on the back of the truck? She's got black on. She could be aiming the pistol at these people, and that is what helped give me the idea that that's what she's doing, aiming the pistol at the prisoners, going that's definitely Jesus. If you played a video, you can clearly see Jesus's trench coat. So they're hauling prisoners back from somewhere and to somewhere. Carol seems to be waiting for something here still, and she seems to be waiting for Daryl. And I think if you picture, Carol and Tara are waiting to see walkers coming somewhere. We see Daryl on the bike blowing stuff up, and he's leading something to someone. So it looks like Daryl is kicking off this big herd, or maybe they found the big herd, they located a big part of the herd, and he wants to start leading them towards this pre-planned route, which is going to go past Carol and Tara. They're going to keep an eye on it, and it's going to go all the way down and towards the sanctuary. And then we got Dwight here with his walkie-talkie. I think this is him helping to set it up where they can bust into the sanctuary through this back end. Remember, Eugene put the metal on the walkers, the liquid metal. I think Dwight is kind of looking out. He knows that they're coming tomorrow, so maybe he's looking for a sign that they're there. Really cool gory walkers. I love this one where the stick is going right through the arm. That is so freaking cool. You also have this person in the background by the fence there. At first I thought it was Morgan, but then I was like, nah, it's probably a savior. And they are waiting to see if the survivors are going to attack. And if that's the case, maybe Dwight is going to sabotage the saviors in some way, helping the survivors to breach this fence area. Because we see Ezekiel and Jerry in mid-battle, blood all over them, and Jerry gives this speech like something bad is going to happen, which is odd because I would have assumed they had a victory at the sanctuary, but you can still have some losses even though you have a victory. Tara here might be heading into one of the outposts where they got their prisoners from, and this might be the whole group. Again, look in the background, the red band is on the girl. That's the girl with the bow and arrow. I forgot her name, but you have everyone piling into this building that has electricity. You can see the bulb up there. So this is the same building that Carol is in, so she's not really alone, but she's in the one area alone. You got Rick and Daryl, and these people are all probably hitting the same outpost, and I don't think this one in particular is the sanctuary. I think that was dealt with at this time. So they hit the sanctuary, they surround it with walkers, and then Negan and them are trapped. While they're trapped, they're going to go hit another outpost, and that's their plan. We see in the woods here the kingdom people getting ready for some type of battle. Now, I think this might even be a third little battle. I think this is when Maggie is standing next to Rick, and she actually lets go of her gun in her dominant hand, and she raises her hand, and we see everyone else raising their hand. Morgan has his hand up, and I think this is at the outpost. It's either at an outpost or this is in fact inside the sanctuary. Dwight could have let them come right in, but it seems like there's an explosion outside the sanctuary. So either the kingdom hits the outside with a big explosion and the other groups sneak inside through some different type of way. That puts Ezekiel and his group outside at the sanctuary while everyone else is inside. Look at Eduardo here. They have their hands up. I'm going to place my bets on this being an outpost for the time being until we see more. It most definitely could be the sanctuary. This could all be the sanctuary, but I think we're going to have more than just the sanctuary in the first couple episodes. So let's say they hit the sanctuary already and this is the outpost and everyone's raising their hands. Why? Because the bad guys are in the other rooms and they want to hit them all at the same time. So everyone raises their hands so they can see, and they lower their hands when they're all ready to attack all at once. So at this point in time, it appears there's a body on the ground, they killed one person quietly, and they're about to attack all the others, very similar to what they did in the previous season where they attacked the Savior outpost in their sleep. This is Jesus with his hand up, and he looks like he's at a corner end. So that's why it's wrapping around the corner from the outside to the inside. This is a very risky and strategic attack, and I am excited and can't wait for that to play out. We get this moment where there's a bunch of close-ups of their faces. I really think it's difficult to pinpoint what's going on. This does look like something caught Rosita off guard inside the area where her and Michonne are looking for people. Now here's Rick looking up, and I think he's looking up for smoke signals. That's a wild guess because, and I'll explain in a minute when we get to it, but we do see something similar to that, and his face is beat up, so this might be after he gets in a fight. Maybe the fight isn't where he got captured, it's from somewhere else. This could be where he got captured. He could be looking up, something went wrong, and Rick is about to get captured. Gregory is looking in through the fence. We saw that image of what it looked like somebody was peeking through, remember, at nighttime? So it's either a prisoner, or maybe Gregory is the prisoner. Maybe Gregory did something and sided with Negan, so they decided to lock him up until after the war. I think that's very highly unlikely, but I'm just saying, either that or he is talking to the prisoners. Maybe he goes over because he's a snake bastard. Maybe he goes over and he says, they made me do it, I don't have any plans, I'm here, I live here, but I can't stop them from fighting Negan. Tell Negan I'm trying to work with him and I'm still willing to work with him. I think that's what this snake is doing. Now, this looks like Aaron and Enid talking together, and they are at some moment in the war, and I'll show you why I believe that in a second. Here's Morgan by this fence, and he's going to help bring the fence down. Here's Carl just walking through the woods. I think he's gathering supplies at this time. This is the girl who I think is standing next to Morgan before they attack the Saviors. Again, it appears that the Kingdom people are coming through the woods. Jerry is in mid-battle in this image, and we can see the molten metal on that zombie behind him. Now, there was some type of explosion. We can see all the smoke. There's definitely a battle and a war happening with walkers and everything else. So this is going to get crazy and insane. And I do think there's a possibility Jerry might die. He might be the first big, tragedy or death in this season. Now we get a glimpse of this guy, and it's going to go along with a glimpse of a walker they show coming up. So keep an eye on this guy. I think this might be a very important little subtle piece of the story. He might even be a savior, or he's from a different community, or, and this is one of my favorites, he is from the Savior compound, but he's on the inside. He's with the regular people in the inside of that warehouse where they are just treated like shit. Or he could be from a different community altogether. He could be from a dead community where he's now traveling on his own. But the important part is I think he runs into Morgan's Spike Walker trap. And we'll get to that in 1 second when we come to the Walker. Enid looks like she's behind one of the shields on the cars, which is after what I'm assuming is the attack on the sanctuary, because it looked like she was the only one standing guard. Rick gets captured, because we know he gets captured. It's in the trailer. And then she decides she wants to help. So that's when Aaron brings her along, and whatever little group there is there, they storm the one place to free Rick. I'm not really sure how that's going to play out just yet, but in this image, this is very important. You see Jesus here, and it looks like they're leading the group back to the hilltop. In the far distance, you see this blurred image of that asshole who was the one who shot and killed Benjamin. Remember, the one who was doing the trade-off with the kingdom? And this is important coming up. But first, we get Daryl, who's shooting containers that explode. It happens once down on the bottom. He shoots behind him with his right arm. And then up top, it happens later in the trailer where he shoots to the side of him with his left arm. And it's clear. It's not different angles of the same shot. One's behind, one's to the side. They won't change it like that. This is two different scenes. And I think he's actually shooting these to lead a signal up to the sky of smoke. Now, it might be twofold. It might be the explosion that catches the walker's attention or keeps their attention. And I think the other reason is to send a smoke signal. That is a lot of fire there. The bottom image is what gives me that idea, because in that part he drives away. We'll see this later in the trailer, but I'll cover it now. The camera pans as he drives, and then it stops on the smoke, and it kind of watches the smoke rise in a way where it's focusing more on the smoke than it is on Daryl. And if this does play out like that, there is something incredibly cool with the idea of Daryl back in season 6 leading walkers out of the quarry on his motorcycle, trying to steer them away from Alexandria. Essentially, he's steering this huge herd and luring them to go a different direction. And that's even when he ran into the Saviors. But now he's steering the walkers again, this big-ass herd, but he's leading them right to the Saviors. I don't know, something about that I really like. So I think that is exactly what they're doing. They're luring this herd, and Daryl is the start of it. And then when Daryl passes Carol in that one image, Carol and Tara wait, and they keep an eye on things. Now, they're not necessarily looking over and watching, so there might be something else that's going on. Keeping an eye out for Saviors, watching the herd, make sure nothing happens, make sure they don't deviate. Something similar to that. Alright, Deadheads, I apologize, but this was a massive video. There's still 23 minutes exactly to go. I'm going to continue to edit the other 23 minutes and upload part 2. By the time you watch this, though, part 2 should be just minutes behind it, so keep an eye out for it. I'm not going to bed until I get part 2 up. I hope you enjoy, because there's some good shit in part 2. Haha. Negan blowing up his own fence, let me just say. That's heavy speculation, but you'll see, it'll make sense.